tackling taxes. Not just talking about taxes, but actually doing something about it. We reduced taxes for middle-class New Yorkers. Middle class defined as $30,000 to $300,000 per year. Okay, $30,000 to $300,000. We reduced income taxes for New Yorkers to the lowest rate in 58 years, believe it or not. We passed the first ever property tax cap in the state of New York that caps the increase on property taxes to 2% unless there's a supermajority. The property taxes in New York, in many communities, are actually more onerous than the income tax. You hear more people saying that the property taxes are literally forcing them out of their homes and they're tougher to pay than the income taxes. So we passed the first ever property tax cap that will limit that growth to 2% unless there's a supermajority. And we said to local governments, we're going to do what we have to do on the state level, and we're going to get our fiscal house in order, but we need local governments to get their fiscal house in order also, because the answer can't always be more taxes, more taxes, more taxes. Put your hand in the pocket of the taxpayer. That mentality has to stop in the state of New York, and it is stopping in the state of New York. We did two other things to really get our fiscal house in order. Number one, we reformed the pension system for public employees in the state of New York. We passed what was called Tier 6, a new pension program that will reduce the level of pension for incoming new public employees, because we just can't afford those levels of pensions anymore. It's one of the reasons the taxes were being driven up the way they were. And then we passed what was called mandate relief. Mandate relief is when the state imposes obligations on local governments without funding those obligations, causing the local governments consternation, and they have to raise taxes to pay for those obligations. So when you put all of that together, the tax reductions, mandate relief, pension reform, we really did change dramatically the tax structure and the cost structure of the state of New York. But then we said that's not enough. You want to turn around the economy. You reduce barriers, first of all, that was taxes and costs, but then stimulate growth. And we're working on a concept we call entrepreneurial government. How does the government stimulate private sector investment? We know how government can be an obstacle to private sector investment. We know how it can frustrate. Well, how do you stimulate? And how do you facilitate? And how do you accelerate? And how do you use government money to actually incentivize